Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to see some of the basic concepts about the API. So in today's video, I am planning to cover what is the base URI, what is the difference between URI and URL, then what is the query parameter, path parameter, and what is the difference between that. So this is going to be a theoretical session about some of the basic concepts of the API. In previous session, we already discussed some more basic concepts about the API and the Postman installation procedure. So if you are not aware about those things, you can refer my previous videos. So let's start with the today's video. The first thing we are going to discuss is the what is the base URI or the endpoint. So for that, I'm just searching something like suppose I already opened the notepad online. So I'm just opening this notepad online. Whatever this URL I'm getting, I'm just copying this one and I'm pasting it here. So with this reference, I will explain you what is the base URI. Then the second point, what is the difference between URI and URL. So everything we will see in this lecture. So let's start. So base URI or the endpoint. So let's see what is the definition. So URI stands for Uniform Resource Identifier. So in an API, it is the foundational part of the API's URL structure. So it acts as the starting point from which the API endpoints are defined. So all API endpoints are typically appended to the base URI to form a full request of the URL. So base URI is basically, if you see here, https www.google.com. This is our base URI. So this is the base point we are hitting this URI. So in the Google we are searching something. So this is the base URI. Suppose in the Amazon application, I'm trying to filter some of the products, then whatever the Amazon link, that will be my base URI. And after search, whatever the parameters I'm searching, that will come here. So basically now I'm searching on the Google. So this is my base URI or the endpoint. So I'm writing that down here. So this is base URI. So this will be the consistent URI for whatever suppose I'm performing any other search. This URI will be the consistent for whatever the functionality or whatever the action I'm doing on the Google. This will be my base URI. So different environment, for example, as you know, like we are working on the different environment like a development, staging or production may have the different base URI. For example, if this is the pre-prod environment, maybe pre-prod google.com, maybe that is the pre-prod environment, production Google, maybe the production environment. Like that, there will be some slight changes in the URI, but for the different environment, there are different URIs present. So using a base URI, you can ensure the consistency across the API requests, and basically it simplifies the configuration when switching between the environment. So what is the difference between URI and the URL? So as we know that URI stands for Uniform Resource Identifier and URL stands for Uniform Resource Locator. Let me note it down here for your reference. So now we are seeing the difference between URI and the URL. So URI is basically stands for Uniform Resource Identifier and URL is stands for Uniform Resource Locator. So that is just the full form. Let's understand the functionality wise how it is the different. So URI is a string that identify a resource either by its location or the name or by using the both. So it provides a way to identify something like a web page, file or resource in a standardized way. So URI can be two types. First thing is URL or the URN. So URL identify a resource by its location. So this is what we are seeing. It is an URL. URN is a basically uniform resource name. Let me note that down also. URN is a basically URN uniform resource name. So it basically identify a resource by its name without necessarily providing a means to access it. So we already see this is like https www.google.com. This is the URL. So this is used as a both URI and URL. I'll show you the example of the URN. URN example. So this you can see, this is the URN pattern. So it identify a book by its ISBN. So this is basically a URN. So in the URN, we are identifying a resource by its name. So in that way, the URI gets constructed. So the next part is the URL. So URL is a specific type of URI that provides the location of a resource on the internet. So it specifies how to access the resource by including details like the protocol, HTTP, HTTPS, FTP, etc. So domain path and sometimes a port number. So in that example, you can see this is the URL. So here we are doing the search action and this is our endpoint. So this specify a web page location using HTTPS protocol. So what is the key difference? So URI is a broader concept identifying a resource either by its name or the location, and URL is a specific type of URI that provides the location of a resource typically used for website and the APIs. So all URLs are URIs, but not all URIs are URLs. So this is the important statement. So whatever the URLs are present, right? So all URLs are URIs, but not all URIs are URLs. So this is the one of the important statement to identify the difference between URL and URI. So let's see the next point. So the next point is what is the resources. So we already see base URI endpoint. The second point is what is the resources. So resources are accessed and manipulated through API endpoint. Each endpoint corresponds to the specific operation on a resource. So for example, in this URI you can see this is the endpoint. We are performing a search action on that particular endpoint, right? So suppose if I'm doing any other action that will come here. So this is the defined by the whoever is developed this API, they are defined this one. So I'm performing the search action here. So in that case, what will happen? So this is my the resource and this is my endpoint. So basically resources are refers to any object or piece of data that API can manage, retrieve or manipulate, and resources are either core entities that API interact with. They are often represented as an object or a data structure in the API responses and the requests. So in the above example, here we already copied this URI. So here you can see the search is the our resource. So I will copy this here. This is our resource. Let's talk about the path parameter. So path parameters in API is a variable part of the URL's path that is used to identify a specific resource. So path parameters are commonly used to pass information that is essential to the endpoint functionality, such as the resources IDs, making the URL dynamic. So let's take the example. I'm writing some. So I just written this some random URI just for the reference to understand what is the path parameter. So let's understand what is the syntax. So path parameter are usually enclosed in the curly braces in API documentation to indicate they are the variable. So in this URI you can see the user ID is the variable. Suppose my user ID, there are different users and different user ID can be present. Suppose 123, 321, 456, all the user ID I can search and find out the details of that user. So in this example, this user ID is the path parameter. So what is the use of the path parameter? So we use path parameter for the identification. So path parameters are typically used to uniquely identify a resource within a collection. So for example, in this URI, if you see, we are finding the particular user ID. So there are multiple users. So I want to find out the user ID. Suppose the user with the user ID 123. I want to find out the detail of that user ID. So basically, I'm putting some filters. So basically, we are using uniquely identify value to find out some resource within that collection. Then path parameters are usually required as they provide the necessary information for identifying the specific resources. And we use this in the different HTTP method get, put, delete and patch to fetch, update or delete to the specified resources. So all these HTTP methods I'm planning to cover in the next session. When we can use this path parameter? So when you need to specify a specific resource within a collection like a user, product or post, then in that case you can use the path parameter. When the parameter is the integral part of the URL structure and it helps to differentiate between different resources. So path parameters provide a clean and readable way to identify resources in APIs, making them essential for many RESTful designs. So let's see what is the query parameter. So query parameter in an API are a key value pair added to the end of the URL to filter, sort or provide additional information for the request. They are appended with the question mark and in a URL and are often used to refine or control the results written by an API. So syntax we already discussed. The query parameter are included in the URL after a question mark and multiple query parameter are separated by ampersand and. So in this example, you can see this query parameter is started with a question mark. You can see this is with the key value pair. So here you can see Q is the key and here you can see some value, notepad plus online. Here you can see the ampersand and. So here the another key value pair is coming. So basically, the query parameters will start with the question mark and there are different key value pair you can see and it is differentiate with this ampersand and. So what is the uses of the query parameter? Basically, query parameter is a use for the filtering to narrow down the result based on some criterias. So we will see one example. Suppose in the Amazon there are different products and I want to find out for some category. For example, I want to find out the beauty category products. In that case, their key value pair will come. For example, question mark category is equal to beauty. So it will returns the product only in the beauty category. It is used for the sorting functionality. Suppose I want to find out the product with the least price or highest price or what is the newest product or what is the cheapest product. Something there are different sorting options are available. So to put that sorting options, you can use the query parameter. To specify the order in which the results are written, in that case, we will use the query parameter. Pagination to manage a large set of results by splitting them into the pages. So suppose there are 100 of product are getting showed for a particular category and you want to see a particular pages product. So in that case also, it will use the query parameter. So these are the some of the basic examples. So basic examples like where we are using the query parameter at the time of filtering, when we are sorting, when we are using the pagination, and when you are searching for the particular product. So basically query parameters allow for flexible and dynamic requests to an API, enabling users to customize the data they retrieve according to a specific need. They are a powerful tool for enhancing the functionality of a API endpoints and providing a better user experience. So let's see what is the difference between the path parameter and the query parameter. So path parameter and query parameter serve different purpose in an API and are used in a distinct way to control and identify the resources. So what is the comparison? So basic use of the path parameter is to identify a specific resource or a subset of the resources. And the query parameter purpose is to modify or refine the results of the request. They often use for the filter, sorting, pagination of the data. So we already see the uses also. So path parameter is a basically used to specify resource identified, and the query parameter is used to provide additional options or criteria for the request. You can give this example also that we already discussed. So path parameter, suppose I have multiple users, I want to find out particular user id, details of that particular user id, then I can use the path parameter. So basically this collection I'm trying to find out a smaller collection, smaller resources from that. And in the query parameter we are using the key value pair, so basically it is for the filtering or a sorting purpose or the pagination purpose we will use the query parameters. So path parameter are usually required to uniquely identify the resources and must be included in the URL. Query parameters are optional. They are generally optional and used to adjust the result of the request as needed. So in summary, path parameter are used to identify a specific resources and are a part of the URL path, while the query parameter are used to provide additional instructions or criteria for the request and appended to the URL. So that's it for the today guys. In today's session we discuss what is the base URI or the endpoint, then what is the difference between URI and the URL, as well as we saw what is the URN. Then we discuss about the resources, path parameter and query parameter, and what is the difference between the path parameter and the query parameter. So if you have any question, please note down that in the comment section. If this video is useful for you, then please like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you for watching this video till the end and have a nice day.